Okay, welcome to Stormworks Component Modding Part 2. Today I'm going to be explaining sounds and how they work. So let me just show you a basic example first. Okay, so here I've pulled up a XML file for the horn for the Satsuma. And here basically how it works. So as like I explained in the previous video, here's your name, here's your file name for it. Pretty simple. So you may think you might need to put the data into here, kind of like how a mesh is, how you put the mesh name and stuff in. You don't need to do that for audio. It automatically gets it when you compile it, so don't need to worry about it. So all I do is add a basic logic node, which is horn, just on off signal. So in the actual Lua script, legit, when you compile it, the first OGG file is index 0, and I think it goes from index 0 to 3. So you can have up to 4 in total. So here it is here. It's pretty simple. So as you can see, this is all just kind of made by Claude in 2 seconds. It's very basic. So basically the sound file is 4 seconds long. So the reason why it has sound duration here, it just so it stops from someone just spamming the button and having the sound file stack and messing up, because you're only doing play once. So, and I'll explain how loop works in just a second. So basically all you're doing is you're getting the input bool, because it starts on index 0 for the bool, right? And when you get to like for example, say you had a composite signal, it'll also be index 0 because the channels are separate, you know what I'm saying? So you can have a composite and a bool both on index 0 and it'll still work just fine. Anyways, basically it's really simple. Only trick on the rising edge, it's just a button detection for when, because it's a push button, it's not toggle. And basically, yeah, so just play the sound. So in the actual API, I'll show you. So in the actual API, positional audio function. So the way this works is the SFX play once, but you have channel index, effect index, offset X, Y, Z. Just have that as 0 if you wanted to, or you could even make a computer that calculates the offset to GPS coordinates. So you can instead play a sound effect at a specific GPS location. You could do that as well. Radius inner, radius outer. Radius inner should be like 1, and radius outer should be 100. So that way, it's much more linear sound. So if I were to draw it, your sound like volume, if you had let's say you had radius inner set to 50, and then you had radius outer set to 100. So this is volume 1 and this is 0. So no volume, okay? So what it would look like is if I have radius to 50, so, and then obviously this is going to be 0 meters distance right here, okay? So if our radius is set to 50, which let's just say it's right here, our inner radius is set to 50, what this means that the volume, which will be represented by the green line, will be flat. And as soon as it gets to 50, then it starts dropping off to 0 when it reaches 100, which gives it a bit of a strange sound. A much better way of doing this would be instead to have radius set to 1, so that you can draw a much more linear line, such as this, where when a person goes further away from the source, it sounds much more linear and less weirdly flat. It doesn't have the big plateau to 50, then goes down to 100. So that's just a good thing to do. Okay, so just to explain a little bit further on how the effect index and the channel index works. Basically, so the effect index refers to which sound file you want to play. So when you compile your component mod, you pass in the OGG files, like when you like horn 1, horn 2 to OGG, all that stuff. The order you list them becomes their index. So the first audio file you pass in is the effect index, 0, for example, and the second one is 1. So basically, horn 0 will be effect index 0. So for channel indexes, it's a lot more like a slot for the playback management. So if you have 4 available channels, so 0 to 3, right, and each channel can play one sound at a time, think of them like separate audio tracks running simultaneously. Basically, what does that mean? So on channel 0, you can have effect 1 playing, and then say you want effect 1 to play basically it's exactly the same time. So you want to play twice and stack the sounds. Then all you do is on channel 0, you play sound effect 1 on the effect index. And then on channel index 1, so you go from 0 to 1 now, you play the effect index 1 again. You know what I'm saying? Which means that it allows you to play multiple sound files at the same time, or it basically, yeah, so you're just creating more audio tracks in a way. So if it's like a highway, the channels, are the lanes, and the effects are the type of cars going down each lane. So that kind of explains it, basically. So yeah, so you can do things like SFX play a loop on channel 0, and that channel now is occupied by that looping sound, right? So then you can do effects 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then you can call SFX update on channel 0 to change volume, pitch, or position while it keeps playing. And then calling sound effect stop on channel 0 stops whatever's playing on that specific channel, So meanwhile, channels 1, 2, and 3 are free. They're uninterrupted. So yeah, a practical pattern will be something like channel 0 for the engine sound, and then maybe channel 1 for the horn, and 2 and 3 are for something else entirely. So in the priority, basically, the game's total active sound count gets too high. The lower the priority, sounds across all components get muted. So basically, it's just like a feature so that the sound doesn't get too crazy. So say you have multiple stacking audios. You want channel 0 to have the most priority, then you just crank the priority higher. Things like that. Hopefully that explains it a bit better. Okay, so also explaining so for example, let's say you play a looped sound effect, and you may be wondering, why isn't the loop sound effect following my car when I'm driving around? How do you solve for that? Well, as you say, yes, you have SFX play loop, but the biggest thing is SFX update. So the way that it works is that you want to call update, as you can see right here, every tick. So all you can do, it's good for also changing the volume or the pitch dynamically on the fly. So say you have a car that's revving up, but the pitch of the volume, the pitch of the sound effect, it needs to obviously ramp up. So you can find this to say, because if you look in update, you'll see here, you can change the inner radius and the outer radius in update. So you can dynamically change how far that distance goes, which lets you do a lot of really cool things when you think about it. But volume, pitch, like I said, you can tie that to any sort of input that you want. And so as you're driving, you can change the volume, you can change the pitch using composite signal. So that kind of explains it. So all you can do is keep the offsets at 0. And basically what that means is that when you drive around, the sound file is going to follow the source of the block. Let's say you didn't want that for some reason, or you wanted to get it to move, then obviously you just feed different positional data into that, So you also have channel index. What does channel index mean? It's like the index for a bool. So if you have multiple sound files, it starts at 0, ends at 3. So you see right here, the index of 3 will target the third logic slot that is output bool type, right? So this goes from 0 to 3, which means you get 4 in total. Okay, 4 sounds. So I'll show you what the compile command would look like. So navigating to CMD as per usual. When you write component in mod compiler, when you do, obviously you start off with your XML. You start off with this, then you do your script. Now, index 0 would be horn underscore 0.ogg. For an example, index 1 would be horn underscore horn underscore 1.ogg has index 1. And then you have, 2, and you have 3, and then so these sound files. So as remember, each sound file has to fight for its place, which means you can only have so much data on a composite block, on a component block, sorry. Which basically means that, you know, you can't have like a million sound files or like a gigantic song. Like a lot of the music I play has to be cut down a bunch, and using Audacity, which is a really great program for this, because for example, you can use YouTube to MP3. Then using Audacity, you can change how loud the bass, because the volume can only go to 0 to 1, which means you can't boost the volume any further, which means that you have to actually boost the bass volume in Audacity, then convert that. So all you gotta do to make it an OGG is just file, export audio, export to computer. You just navigate to your SDK wherever you want it. So it's just called sessimhorn.ogg. That's really it. That's all it is. You can change your quality, lower the quality, the lower the sample rate. But the more bad it's obviously gonna sound, but it allows you to have longer audios because it's not taking up as much file space. And the format is OGG. So you have tons of formats you got here. So, but the Stormworks only supports .ogg files. So yeah, pretty much how it works. You're just gonna call SFX update every tick. So really, 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 really important is this right here. Function on remove from simulation. What does this mean? Let's say I have a looping sound effect. Could be anything. My engine sound, let's just say the engine sound's playing while the car is running. Obviously, it's looping constantly, changing pitch as I rev up, rev down, all that stuff. So, let's say the car gets despawned. Well, the microcontroller is not communicating to it, which means it's just going to keep looping forever and never stop. What does that mean? So, to fix that, it's really basic. It's just function on remove from simulation. You're just going to simply call component sound effect stop. And you can literally, if you have multiple files, you can just do like this. I'll show you. Just like 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, and like, you can make it simple as that, honestly. Yeah, and that's it. So on remove from simulation is necessary. Even if it's something that plays once, just throw it in anyways. You can never be too safe on, like, it's just, it'll save you from a lot of headaches. Yeah, so on remove from simulation, very useful, but anything component mod related, just cleans it up, you know, and doesn't have anything running in the background, because otherwise it's just, the sound file is just going to play forever. So yeah, that's pretty much everything to do with sound effects. It's pretty basic. You know, if you guys have any questions, just throw it in the comment section. I'll try and answer them. Yeah, the things like you know, you have priority here at the end. So it does say, so index from 0 to 3, it says right here. So 4 pre-allocated positional audio channels. So you can add up to 4. Which means that if you want more, then, well, you got to make another component block to do even more. And then you can do 4 by 4 by 4, which means you need more and more component blocks. So yeah, it's really like, it's like I said, it's all to do with the compiler command. So you don't need to put the sound file in the XML at all. You don't need to do audio file names. That's what I originally thought when I was first doing it. Then I found out, oh, it doesn't even do anything. So for meshes, yes. For sounds, no. You can just throw it in. So yeah, so your command looks something like this. It'll just be whatever OGG files you want. Usually use Audacity to see how the loop is before you do it. So basically loop something in Audacity. You know, you can just drag like this. See? And then you got a basic loop. You know, or you could just do the entire thing. You know, I extended the clip a bunch. The reason why. And I also added extra buffer. So I said, you see in the lower file, it stops at 4 seconds. It's just so it doesn't let people spam the hell out of the horn. So just good to know. You can do whatever sound files you want. You know, some unlimited choices. It's really cool. So enjoy, guys. Sound files are really important for really making your vehicle go to the next level. It's a big thing. So do not skip out on sounds. Anyways, you guys got any questions, let me know in the comments. See ya.